So they're just like, hey, sorry, Steven, you're out $2 million. Like, it is what it is.
We will literally get a bill for the work they came and did.
Wait, hold on. So not only did they destroy your product, they charged you for doing it.
Correct.
Holy cow.
Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show.
Well, hey there, folks. Brian Nichols here on The Brian Nichols Show, and thank you for joining us on, of course, another fun-filled episode. I am, as always, your humble host, joining you from our lovely Cardio Miracle Studios here in sunny Eastern Indiana. The Brian Nichols Show is powered by our friends over at AMP America, folks. If you are looking for the news you need to know without all the extra corporate media bias or fluff, head to ampamerica.com. Also, the Brian Nichols Show, and frankly, yours truly, is powered by our phenomenal studio sponsor, Cardio Miracle. Now, folks, you've been hearing me just rant and rave about Cardio Miracle for about the past year. If you want to learn about the best heart health supplement in the world that will help lower your blood pressure, lower your resting heart rate, help improve your pump at the gym, and a slew of amazing other benefits, stick around later in the episode. We'll talk about that in a bit. But first, let's dig into today's conversation. And joining us from basically the other side of the world, we're going all the way down under to the country that is New Zealand. It's the day ahead over there because of time zone differences, so that's pretty fun. But today we're going to be talking about, in New Zealand, why the New Zealand government is trying to force this beekeeper to get rid of all of their bees. Let's talk about that. To discuss that and more, joining us from New Zealand, Stephen Brown. Welcome to the Brian Nichols Show. How you doing?
Very good. Yourself?
I'm doing quite well. I mean, for Springbank honey, I think you guys are probably going to be doing better if you weren't having your entire bee population targeted by the New Zealand government. But Stephen, before we get there, do us a favor. Introduce yourself here to the Brian Nichols Show audience. And how did we find ourselves in our, dare I say, sticky situation we are in today?
Hi, I'm Stephen Brown from Springbank Honey and 100% Organic. We are beekeepers. We have 3,000 hives in beautiful New Zealand. We have a 10,000 hectare or acre farm up in the mountains, which is mainly covered in bush and manuka, where we place most of our bees, and we run about 300 head of cattle on the farm. I've been beekeeping now for 35 years. Got shipped off to beekeeping to one of my dad's mates when I was 15, and have been doing it ever since commercially. It's an amazing lifestyle. It's incredible. You never learn enough about these amazing insects. They are just absolutely a powerhouse of wisdom and interesting things that they do. You never stop learning. It's absolutely incredible.
Well, and everybody has that knee-jerk reaction, right? They see bees and they're like, they're gonna get stung. No, that's not that's we're talking about honeybees here, right, folks? Not your big evil ones, the wasps, the yellow jackets. I've been very much acquainted with some yellow jackets in many years ago. And I'll tell you, it wasn't that fun. But honeybees, right? Honeybees are not just the little critters that help create honey and pollinate flowers, but also help our agriculture, help us as human beings create the ecosystem that we have today. But so many folks, and let's just start here, Stephen. So many folks, I think, just don't realize how important and integral bees are into our way of life and the things that I think we take for granted, right? Could you articulate that for us?
Well, you don't realize that you pour some almond milk, person wants almond milk in their coffee, latte, that came because the bees pollinated it. You want your avocados, again, that's because the bees pollinated it. You want a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruit, that's because the bees pollinated it. The bees, even your cattle out on the farm, the bees have pollinated the alfalfa out in the paddocks that have got the grass to grow. You don't have the bees, you're not going to get that. So the bees make a massive difference. They've always gone on about if you lose the bees, the human population is doomed within the next 10 years afterwards. So there is so much that happens purely because of bees. And because of varroa nowadays, you need the beekeeper. Once upon a time, the bees could live without the beekeeper, but nowadays you need the beekeeper. And basically, honey subsidizes honey sales subsidizes the beekeeper, both here in New Zealand and in the US, to do their amazing things. And we need people to buy more jars of honey, just to keep the bees going. You want the fruit. As a rule, the beekeepers don't actually get paid for much pollination. Other than like almonds, most of it's free. The beekeepers and the bees pollinate for nothing. But to actually look after a beehive, you need people to be buying honey.
So let's talk then, Stephen, about bees and New Zealand and where you are today, because my awesome cohort behind the scenes here, Chris, he's been helping get some guests here on the show. He raised up your story, and it kind of took me by surprise, because let's just address the elephant in the room, if you will, when it comes to bees. We've been hearing, especially in the States over the past, I'd say 5-10 years, the honeybee crisis. Honeybees are going extinct. We need to do what we can to help improve the ability for honeybees to be successful and thrive. But also, I've seen a really big change in the social implications of people, how they approach bees. And yet, Stephen, as we go down under to where you are over in New Zealand today, you're joining us and telling us the story of how the New Zealand government is actually going after your bees. Talk to us about that. What's going on here?
We had the New Zealand government. They have we have American foulbrood in New Zealand. This is all to do with American foulbrood and basically control. We have new people running the plan of how to eradicate it and deal with it. New Zealand's been always a bit weird than like in America, where you just give antibiotics to it. They burn a hive if they find American foulbrood, and you have quite strict policies around how you have to care for the bees and some of the stuff, what to do. Over the years, they got taken over, like a lot of government departments. It used to be basically run by people who knew what they're doing. Now it's run by people who live in an ivory office, and they decided that you could learn everything you need to know on a computer. So they brought in that everyone could learn on a computer, and amazingly, that meant the disease just went absolutely rife. Amazingly, you can't learn some of these practical stuff just sitting on a computer. You actually need to get out there, get your hands dirty, and learn it from Mother Nature, and from hopefully a few experienced beekeepers. So they've had a disease problem. The way to deal with it just went absolutely ballistic. So suddenly they lost control of it, and their thing was, we'll just burn everybody out. And anyone who complains about us, we'll just get rid of them by matching. So they have been we've had a few really big new beekeepers start up who didn't know what they were doing, caused a bit of problems, and we got American foulbrood from them, which we told them about. And we were quite open, going, hey, you need to deal with these problems. So this autumn, we knew we were going to have an issue with some AFB, and they went in there like Nazis, basically, doing swab tests. Now, you can find this spore. So the average American honeybee has 178 spores in its stomach. So the spores are right through New Zealand, right through. It's basically a worldwide disease. It doesn't kill them. It's like having a stomach bug. It's only if the numbers get horrendously high that suddenly you'll get an outbreak of disease. Well, they came into our shed, broke in. We said, you're not legally allowed here. They said, oh, we can do whatever we want. Broke in, took swabs. 6 of them came back negative. 2 of them came back with some spores, and they go, right, we're just going to burn this. You've got 7 days and match it. And they went to some dead hives that we had strapped. So in the shed, if you can imagine our shed, it's not small, it's quite large. We had over probably about 20,000 boxes in the shed, and they're on pallets. We're not a small beekeeper, so we are palletized. We shrink wrap our boxes. We have trace back systems. We're organic, and we trace back to wherever that honey comes from in your jar. We can show you how it got to your jar, what hives it came from, where those boxes went. Everything is traced. And they went and they checked some boxes from some dead out hives. They swabbed them, and then they went, right, everything behind them, which was stacked up honey supers from the season, we're going to burn the whole lot.
Hey folks, I want to take a moment to talk about something that has truly changed my life, and that is Cardio Miracle, our incredible studio sponsor. Now, I'll be honest, when I first heard about Cardio Miracle and their claims about improving heart health, I was skeptical. But After using it for just about 2 months, I was absolutely blown away by the results. First, my blood pressure went from being consistently around 140/90 to a much more healthier and manageable 120/80, and my resting heart rate dropped from the low 70s to the high 50s, and I couldn't believe it. But the benefits didn't stop there. I started sleeping better, and I felt more energized at the gym, and my heart felt the best it's felt in years. And it's not just me. Hundreds of you, our amazing listeners, have reached out to share your own incredible experiences with Cardio Miracle. So, what is Cardio Miracle, and how does it work? It's a carefully crafted supplement that harnesses the power of nitric oxide to support optimal heart function. So, by increasing nitric oxide levels in your blood, Cardio Miracle helps relax your blood vessels, improve circulation, and it protects your heart from damage. It's like giving your heart the support it needs to function at its best. And here's the best part. We've got an exclusive offer just for you, our loyal listeners here at the Brian Nichols Show. When you head over to cardiomiracle.com and use code TBNS at checkout, you'll get an extra 15% discount on your order. Plus, with their 100% money-back guarantee, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So, if you're ready to take control of your heart health and experience the life-changing benefits of Cardio Miracle for yourself, just click the link in the show notes or video description. Trust me, your heart will thank you. And don't wait another day to prioritize your health. Join the tens of thousands of folks who have already discovered the Cardio Miracle difference. Head to cardiomiracle.com now and use code TBNS for 15% off your order. Your journey to a happier and healthier heart starts today. And now, let's get back to the show.
At the back of the shed was brand new boxes. And in 12 years ago, the government removed, just quietly on the side, they removed the right of excuse. So you know how you have should have a right of freedom of speech, you should have a right of objecting to things and having the right avenues to think. They removed that quietly from the law 12 years ago. So suddenly we got thrown with, in our opinion, an illegal demand. And they said, oh yeah, but by the way, even though we're illegal, if you don't obey it, you're going to go to prison. So we decided that I don't really want to go to prison, so that we will literally obey the thing and then fight it afterwards. We'd already been standing up for some little guys. I did a ring around some old beekeepers who I trained with, and they said, Stephen, this is happening all the time. They themselves told me that they were doing one a week. I mean, you've got to be kidding. What are you doing? There's not enough beekeepers as it is, and going around one a week to try and destroy us. And they're all too scared because no one wants to go to prison. And we went, well, we'll make sure that everybody knows about it, because no one knows about it. It's like my wife got messaged last night. They did this to us 3 years. We don't want anyone to know. They completely destroyed our business. They went into our shed and burned all the boxes. Please help. And you go, this should be known. Like, they are literally, anyone who stands up to them or says what they're doing wrong, they just burn them. We just destroy their business and then they're out of the industry. Another little side note is that they have empowered a few of their friends. So their friends who are commercial beekeepers or amateur beekeepers, and they've given them a warrant like a policeman. And they're the ones who did all our checks. They're the ones who did the swab. So my competitors, the people we compete for bee sites with, compete for sales for honey, they're the ones who actually did this thing. One of them actually came to my shed, to my facility, spat in my face, said we can do whatever we want and the police are on our side. They have more power. They've given themselves more power than the police. So in New Zealand, before they come into a building of yours, something you own, they have to have a warrant. They have to have a warrant, just like in America, from a judge to say you're allowed to do it. They've made these people, because it's, quote, a disease, we can just do whatever we want. The fact is, this disease only affects baby bees. It's a very low infectious disease. We're not talking something that's going to kill you. It doesn't going to affect any of the honey. It doesn't affect adult bees. And you give someone this kind of power, it just blows me away that anybody has power without checks and balances. Like,
well, let's talk about something you just raised up there, Stephen, because an elephant in the room for you guys down in New Zealand, right? Like during COVID, and as bad as things were here in the States, your prime minister, oh my goodness, she was like little petty tyrant. Like might as well given her a little mini mustache underneath her nose, because she took that authority and
went
she
nuts.
went ham, right? And by the way, you mentioned that this new approach to just people being able to walk in saying, we're going to burn your bees because we say we can, because we say, well, this is a disease. That right there, that's a little spooky, because I can almost guarantee that they didn't have the testicular fortitude to say, well, we can just come in and do anything we want because of disease until COVID-19 came in 2020. So let me ask you this. How much of all of what has happened over the past 4 years played a role into the government now using these powers to come in and say, hey, we're going to mess up with your bees because we're afraid of bee flu?
Basically, absolutely. Without COVID, it wouldn't have happened. It's basically COVID served them up on a plate, a way to take our rights and our away from us. They went, oh, we got away with it in COVID, so let's get away with it now. And I'm jumping up and down, and I'm trying to get everybody to know about it, that not only don't want it to happen, I want the powers that they do this to be stopped. All the stuff that they took away from us in COVID needs to be given back. It's absolutely wrong to shut people down just because some bureaucrat decides it. We should be left alone to run our own businesses, our own lives. And if we choose to do this, that's on us. They, of course, want to tell you how to blow your nose, how to eat your dinner. They are literally... But remember, they're also billing you for this. It's not free. Like, we're going to get a bill for this. This organization bills us. So we'll be sending them a check for $6,000 next week. Everything the New Zealand government does, they send you a bill for. So not only do I burn my own stuff, I had any charter. It's like the communists that used to shoot the person, then send the family a bill for the bullets. This is what it feels like here, that I'm literally paying to be destroyed. None of the ministers in government I have rung, we have got one backbench nobody MP who's politician who's responded. Everybody else has just said, oh, the bureaucrats are looking at it. We'll be in touch. And I keep on going, but no one's being attacked like this. No one really wants to know. Everyone wants to keep their heads down, hope that the news cycle goes away, hope that we disappear. And I'm going, well, we're not going to disappear. The news cycle, we will not let it change. And we're just going to keep jumping up and down until there is some change, till something happens, till there is some compensation. Like, we want our $2 million back. We want all the people who have been burnt for no reason, their livelihoods back. It's just absolutely wrong. They targeted an old guy. He's been beekeeping for 60 years, and they threatened him and said, oh, because you stopped someone coming into your home, that was broke the rules because you obstructed them. The fact they didn't have the power to do it, they didn't care. And if you say anything, we'll send you to prison for 3 months. It's just, you're just rounding up all your opposition and putting them in prison.
Well, and Stephen, it's not just opposition. It just sounds like anybody who doesn't toe the line. Like,
100%.
And that right there is the scariest part. Like, and I'll just speak anecdotally from what we saw here in the States during COVID. But it wasn't so much that the people that I was saying, like, so whenever people would say, like, Brian, why are you so vehement about what's happening right now in your response? Like, it's a pandemic, man. Take a break. Like, there's a lot we don't know. Trust the experts. And I'm like, listen, I understand that you're scared. I understand that, like, there's a lot that we don't know right now. But the idea that we're just going to arbitrarily surrender all of our freedoms and liberties to the government and assume that they're going to give it back to us, like, I'm not on board. And I didn't look at the people who were saying, like, hey, let's just get over this thing, right, as my opposition. But rather, I just kind of looked at them as people who were scared. And when you fast forward, what happened was more and more of those people who were in, and I'll just, again, use the term opposition just for generalizations here, but the folks who weren't, afraid of the government response to COVID, they were jumping on board to get their COVID vaccines. And that's fine if you wanted to do that. But what we've seen is that the government has continued to push that line more and more forward. So, right, more folks who wouldn't be considered, on my side of the argument, all of a sudden found themselves somehow on my side because the government line got pushed so far.
Yep. Well, we're the same. So people, if they know their history, the founding fathers, the reason the founding fathers had the war, they didn't want the War of Independence. Like, the War of Independence was hell. They did it because all their rights had been taken off them. If you actually dive into why they wanted freedoms, why they wanted to get away from England, they wanted away from the bureaucrats controlling every part of their lives. And we, under COVID, we just gave up what everyone's fought for. Because we're so far removed of what was done for us by our ancestors, we forget that they paid a heavy price so that we could have freedom. And now these bureaucrats and people want to take it off us. They did take it off us in COVID, and then they want to keep it and keep moving it. And the destruction of anybody who stands up against them is absolutely massive. They are quite, and it's the state. They're not using, it's not like their political argument against my political argument. They're using the resources of the government against us. So when it's not a fair fight, it's literally a David and Goliath thing. You've got this massive thing funded by our taxes to destroy us, and we're fighting against them, and everything seems to be on their side. And they keep on changing the rules to their benefit, and they're willing to lie, they're willing to treat. So you say trust the experts, but they're quite happy to lie if it suits them. So we got a piece of paper back saying from one of the ministers, he'd been told by his bureaucrats that the vaccine doesn't work. So there's a vaccine. America has developed this amazing vaccine for this one disease. It actually does work, reduces, oh no, the vaccine won't work. And we go, well, it this does stop the transmission. There is other ways of doing it. But even all these things, it should be our decision. It should be our right to choose. Not just some big brother going with a stick going, if you don't, we'll send you to prison. Like, that's just unbelievable. Like, they literally rang the police. The police rang me and said, Stephen, if you don't obey them, we're just going to do it. And go, you've got to be kidding. You've got no warrant. You've got no, they've got this piece of paper. We reckon it's right. I said, well, it's wrong. The piece of paper is telling you fibs. Well, they're saying they've got these rights. They don't have these rights. Oh, well, we're just going to do it anyway. So you're going to argue from prison if you say anything. Hence, we burnt $2 million worth of stuff because we go, well, if I don't, I'm going to be arguing this, trying to do this interview from a prison cell. Right. And you go, well, I can't actually argue from a prison cell. So hence, I'm doing this now. And I am blessed in one way because it's autumn here, not spring. Because if this was spring, it'd be an absolute complete disaster because all my boxes are burnt for these hives. So I have got at least 3 to 4 months ahead of me. It's going to be a damn busy winter trying to make up the boxes that we've just lost. And the worst bit is at the back of the shed, they're brand new boxes. We were due to do a new expansion. We've been short of staff, so we hadn't done an expansion. We wanted to increase our hives to 4,000, so we had brand new gear at the back, brand new, never been on a beehive, no disease. You couldn't say it had disease. And their answer was, oh, yeah, this is a bit extreme, but you need to do extreme things in some cases. Yeah, so if you stand up, they're willing to do extreme things against you.
Holy cow, Stephen. Well, and like $2 million worth of product. It just at least, and again, I am not going to excuse the government here in the United States for what they did during COVID, but like at least they pretended that they understood that shutting down society arbitrarily for indefinite time periods was a bad thing. And we had the PPP loans. Like they were like, hey, business, if we shut you down for 2 months and we say that your employees are considered non-essential, yeah, I guess that would probably put you out of business. So we'll send you, whatever we need to send you in terms of cash to keep you afloat. And at least they made that argument, Stephen. Is the government in New Zealand, yeah, you're shaking your head no. So they're just like, hey, sorry, Stephen, you're out $2 million. Like, it is what it is.
We will literally get a bill for the work they came and did.
Wait, hold on. So not only did they destroy your product, they charged you for doing it.
Correct.
Holy cow.
It is literally, we're going to get the check bill for the bullets that they did. And I go, this is the most terrible thing you could do. How can you bill me for destroying me? It just absolutely blows you away. My children, so we're a family business. So my 4 children help me. They range from 14 to 19. They all help in the business. We spent the work thing. So to burn those hives, we started on Friday. We worked all the way through to Sunday night, 10:30 to finish. me and my kids, absolutely devastating. My poor kids, one of them had a nervous reaction. It was just absolutely, my other daughter is absolutely covered in eczema because of the stress. It just breaks your heart. Because I needed help, and then they inspectors to make sure I'd done it the very next day to check that everything was empty and was all done, so that whether to come and charge me or not. So the whole family is just ripped apart. Saying that we have pulled together, but they're all destroyed. They don't sleep. They just worry, what's the next step? In fact, they've actually announced on their feed. So theoretically, you have privacy, but they've actually announced that there's more to come in the next 7 to 14 days. So my kids are going, Dad, what else are they going to do to us? What else are they going to burn? What are they going to destroy? Where are they going to go? Because, of course, they've gone completely everywhere on our farm. And now we're waiting for them to come to our other facility on our other property to see what they're going to do to us here. And my kids are petrified.
So, Stephen, I know we're going towards the tail end of the episode. I hate to end the show on a negative standpoint, but I got to ask the question, what are you guys going to do? Like, what can you do? And by the way, to that question, how do you guys stop this from happening again?
Well, on this question, I have my brother is a barrister. He is today in a law library going through trying to find loopholes and ways that we can stop what they're doing. He normally doesn't do this sort of law. His normal clientele are quite unsavory. But anyway, so he's spending the day in that. I've got another lawyer having a look at that. I am trying to get the word out to everybody. I am trying to show them that people do actually clear, that they have gone on to our website or gone onto Instagram, they've subscribed, that they actually have got joining forces so we can actually go to them. People do care about this. People are interested in this. We would really appreciate people buying a pot of honey. Go either onto Amazon or onto our website, and it's free shipping. Get a pot of honey. Basically to help fund the legal expenses, help fund the replacement of gear, but basically so that we can put our time into fighting the government. It's just like the old man that came and see me 2 days ago. He came in, he's in his 70s, and he said, Stephen, this is just destroying me. And you go, if people don't stand up, it's said that if a righteous man doesn't stand and the wicked rise to power, well, no one has wanted to stand up to these people. There is problems, but we all have to do our bit to stand, whether here or in the US. There is bad things happening, and the government does need to be pushed back and told to stop what they're doing. They need to give them a kick in the ass and tell them to settle down. They're there to serve the people. They're not there to destroy the people. They're not there to take all our stuff. So we would really appreciate people going and buying a pot of honey, telling their friends about it. Let people know that this sort of thing is happening. That if you don't in the US actually be on your guard, you'll be having the same thing happen to you. Don't think that these governments don't talk to each other. They are all in communication. Don't think this is just an isolated thing in New Zealand. So New Zealand is often the trial ground for lots of horrible things that happen in New Zealand. Before they happen to you, they'll often have already happened to us. They'll see if it works because we're in the bottom of the world. Can we get away with it? What can we make these people do? What can we take from them? And then they'll roll it out to places like the US. So if you would help us stop it here, that will help us stopping it to happening to you. It's probably nicer that not only do you make it feel good that New Zealand will be a better place to come and visit, but it'll stop it happening in the US, because they definitely do. They go to their World Forum conferences. Yep. They all sit around their table and go, what are we going to do those poor suckers today? And don't think they're not. Don't think that they don't have an agenda. They do have an agenda. They're quite happy to tell you they've got an agenda and what's going to be their next steps. And you go, you're just blown away. We let here, the police grizzle to me that we let the druggies, the murderers, the rapists out. They won't let them keep them in the prison. But when we go lock up people who complain about what the government's doing, you got it completely wrong. Like, why are you blocking up the bad people who steal? And everyone should have a right of free speech. Whether I agree with what they're saying or not, I don't care. Everyone has the right of free speech. That's what keeps the community free. The right to bear arms. You need that. So in New Zealand, if you ever look, we had the moth shooting in New Zealand. We know in New Zealand, it's illegal even to see the video. If you watch the video, what happened, you can go to prison. People have gone to prison. So we don't even know what happened in this country. The event happened in New Zealand. No one here knows about it. Then they locked up the guns. The police bought up most of the guns, destroyed them. It's really easy to keep a population down when you remove all the firearms, all the control, and you won't even allow them access to what's happening. And if you speak up against them, it's hate speech. And all you're doing is saying things that everybody should be saying. This isn't just a thing that one person should be saying. We all should be saying government should get off it, get out of here. We don't want you. Not only would it save my taxes, because our tax rate, they just every year find another thing to tax you on. The prices just keep going up. And then you find that most of it's actually tax.
Yeah.
Our fuel is like 3 times the price of your fuel. You want to run a business where everything is taxed. It's devastating. It's hard to be in business in this country.
Stephen, I just gotta say, right? You're not a radical. You're a normal person from 20 years ago. And
Correct.
This is the elephant in the room for today's episode is that we've watched as government has increasingly inched closer and closer towards tyranny across the globe. And much to your point, Stephen, the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, all these entities where all the great movers and shakers of our societies come together and talk about all the wonderful things they're going to do for the world. No. As a matter of fact, it's testing grounds for the worst things in society. Much like, I mean, you mentioned New Zealand is the testing grounds for what's happening in America. I think you're the testing grounds for what happens in Canada, and then Canada is what they bring down to the United States.
You're not wrong.
I'm watching right now on my northern border, my family members that live up in Canada right now, basically trying to flee the country because of how dystopian it has gotten just in a short 5-year period, not even talking about the past 20 years, but how do we get here, right? It's the boiling pot with the frog scenario, right? The frogs in the pot.
Which state do I want to go to? It's like can I go to somewhere in the States? I'm going to be free.
Yep.
The state's going to defend me, not attack me. That's what we're looking for.
Well, Stephen, at the very least, the audience today is now aware of what's happening down in New Zealand, and hopefully it wakes them up because, we don't want this to happen here. But to your point, it is happening in New Zealand, and we want to support you. So rumor is, as you hinted there earlier, it sounds like folks listening today could actually go ahead and purchase some honey from you despite being probably halfway across the world. Is that right?
Well, we have honey stored. So we have our depot in Utah. We have our honey sitting in Chicago and Amazon. So our website, it's all free shipping. It's all based in the US. My brother-in-law is married to an American. She's an American Jew from Georgia. So we are also do a lot of work in America, and you can go online. You can buy direct. It is shipped to you. You get 3-day shipping from anywhere in the US, coming straight out of our depot in Utah. Or you can get it from Amazon, and I think it's getting shipped out of Chicago area, right across the states. It's organic. It's 100% organic. Is the name of the brand we're selling in the US, because it is 100% organic from our farm. It has no baddies in it. It's completely natural. It's raised naturally. On all the hives are wax and wood. There is no wax plastic frames, but you can have it in squeezy jars. There's a whole range of products. And we've got more coming out in the next thing. So our business is actually, God has really blessed our business. Our business is actually doing amazingly. My wife would tell you that her belief is that every time God blesses us, there's another wave of muck that comes in against us. But we have been really blessed. The business is booming, actually, being thing. It's just, as every time we get $1, there's another $2 going out to pay for legal expenses. I've paid out $180,000 so far fighting the government. So you just literally watch every dollar you earn disappear down the throat of the lawyers and the people fighting it. So we would really appreciate people buy some money. It is awesome product. and it's available to you really soon.
Stephen, we're going to go ahead and include that link in the show notes. You and I are going to have a chat afterwards as well. Folks, please go ahead, support Springbank Honey. They are doing amazing work. They're fighting back against tyranny despite all of the insanity, the nonsense that they have had to face. Stephen and his team are standing up and they're fighting the good fight. So please, links are all going to be in the show notes. And folks, if you enjoyed today's episode, you want to raise awareness to what Stephen and his team are facing and all the other beekeepers down in New Zealand are facing. And heck, you want to make sure this doesn't come to our backyard, head to the show notes or head to briannicholsshow.com. Please share today's episode with your friends and family. When you do, please tag yours truly at Nichols Liberty. Stephen, where can folks go ahead, support you, continue the conversation, but more importantly, stay up to date in what's happening with Springbank Honey down in New Zealand?
Well, if they go to Instagram and subscribe to Instagram there, they will get coming in all, it's not all negative. It's got some amazing stuff there from our farm and what we do. So if they go on there, they can buy honey from 100% organic. If they go to Amazon, they can buy, it's all sitting there on the store. It's at our website at springbankhoney.com. That's our website in the US, and they can purchase a jar from there. And they will get, if they subscribe, they will get sent information.
There you go. Awesome. A subscription service. I love it. All right, Stephen, thank you for joining us. And folks, again, we really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedules to join the program. And with that, we want to make sure that you understand how much we appreciate you joining us. So we have some phenomenal sponsors here in the show, and they give us some awesome discounts. If you use code TBNS at checkout on any of our sponsors, whether it's Cardio Miracle, the Wellness Company, Ebles, CBD, and more, you're going to get some type of discount, whether it's 15% off on Cardio Miracle, 10% off all services from the Wellness Company. That includes doctor visits. Ebles, you can get, I think it's 10% off, 15% off here, $5 off there. Wherever it may be, use that special discount code TBNS because, yeah, our sponsors are the folks who help support us and keep the lights on. So we please want to go ahead and support them. And also, if you're looking to share the show and you're thinking, well, I know some folks like to watch the video versions of the show and other folks like the podcast. What should I do, Brian? Well, go ahead and share both. You can find us over on YouTube, on Spotify, or I'm sorry, YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, and Facebook for the video versions of the show. For the podcast versions of the show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, I Like Podcast Addict, wherever it is you get your podcast. Just hit download all unplayed episodes. Reason being, we have over 850 episodes of the show over at briannicholsshow.com, which, Stephen, is the only place you can find all 850 episodes because, yes, big government and with that big tech have made it a point to go after any narratives, as you've seen in New Zealand, that don't toe the line. So we had some of our past episodes where we dug into the COVID hysteria nuked over on YouTube. So if you want to check out all those awesome episodes from yesteryear, those are available at briannicholsshow.com in the archives. But if you are joining us on the video version of the show, regardless, hit that subscribe button, hit that little notification bell so you miss a single time we have a brand new episode go live. And of course, head down below into the comments. Let us know your thoughts. Is this insane? I think it is. The fact that they're going after bees and destroying $2 million worth of product. Yeah, not that good. Stephen, that's what we have for the audience today. Any final words as we wrap things up?
We're just so grateful to be on the show. We're so grateful to have people to hear. Please subscribe. Please tell people about it.
Absolutely. No, Stephen, this is, I'm sure, a part one of a continuing conversation here on the show. We need to hear what's going on down in New Zealand, so we'll make sure we keep that conversation going. But with that being said, it's Brian Nichols signing off here on The Brian Nichols Show for Stephen Brown from Springbank Honey.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.